how short people's memory tends to be. One of the ways that they achieve their goals, talking about Masons and government, one of the ways that they achieve their goals is to draw things out over a long period of time, where they pepper things out to the public. They let the concept die down in interest. People forget about it. People move on. They keep you busy through the television, through video games, all sorts of different things. And part of human nature is you don't want to dwell on negative things, right? I mean, who wants to be unhappy? But at the same time, some people are just so loaded for protection and for chasing after the truth or acknowledging the truth, however you want to phrase that, that, some of us tend to catalog these movements in our brain and then connect the dots, which absolutely need to be connected together. And so I'm not going to go over this entire 55-page report, but in Obama's administration, and well, I won't get off on that rabbit trail, but in his administration, they did say that Christian extremism, of course, all defined by them, defined by unbelievers, defined by Masons, by Kabbalists, powerful people within the government who have the military industrial complex behind them, all the tools, all the AI, all the power, all the governments of the world backing their goals. Remember that. They issued this report saying that people who are Christians, which are moms and dads and single people, we are by them considered to be a domestic terrorist threat. So they don't want to deal with Islam, who is a terrorist threat. They want to categorize us for pretty simplistic things. So that's the PDF. We'll look at that in a minute. I'm not going to get through all of it, but the little blurb here. So, wow. Whoa, wait a minute. 95. Wow. Okay. Wow. That would have been just a few years after Noahide was signed into law by Bush in 91. Huh. That is interesting. Anyhow, motivated terrorism to support what is perceived as God's will, and advocate and endorse violence against non-believers. Christians do not advocate violence. Our God tells us to love our enemies. Now, do we have a right to protect our children? Yes, of course. Who doesn't? But they are bastardizing this concept. The Christian concept of millennialism, known in the Christian doctrine as end times. Well, that's actually not even correct, but I don't want to get into all that right now. This combined with not his show necessarily, but this concept of Trump having the FTC and the FCC policing social media, which is talked about here through executive order, which has become an abuse of power that you've been hammered into believing this is okay for so long that you just go along with and accept that we no longer use a system of checks and balances. Whenever the dictator, Mason, says, I want to do something, he does it. And a lot of that stuff came into being with the 9/11 scenario. Okay, so there were Masons back in power manipulating things all the way back then to have this tool belt of being able to do whatever they want whenever they want. And there's a lot more that goes along with it, but that's just an observation. There's so much more that could be said. But this idea that they're going to oversee how social media platforms curate content, and then looking specifically another layer down, what are they looking for? They're looking for what they told you all the way back here in 95 for the enemy, those who they would consider the enemy, the Christian extremist. There is no Christian extremists that are true Christians. course, anybody can put a label on them, and you can have unbelievers that pretend to be believers. This is kind of a window in to how they view us. If you're skimming this, like I am, see, they want to get law enforcement involved in it. A war of ideology between tolerance and understanding versus hate and bigotry. But what they're doing isn't, they would say, it's not being intolerant. While difficult to implement, the recommended actions contribute to the understanding of Christian extremism and potential threats stemming for it. Well, that's how you silence your dissenter. You just post labels on them and say that they're this and that and blah, blah, blah. Here's the table of contents. Oh, I bet there's a lot that could be pulled out of this. Interesting. The Christian identity movement. You know, we've had Christians for 2,000 years, but now with the advent of the AI and the internet and all these Masons that have been government, now that they have these tools, they want to use them, and they want to use them against us. And it's not just this report back in 95, although, and very much popularized by Janet, Napolitano, right? Janet Napolitano, and Obama's administration, speaking about, you know, the enemy being the Christian who opposes abortion, being one who believes the Bible when it talks about an end times. Now remember, there are rabbi deconstructionists that are saying the end times is a time of peace. You have the wrong Messiah. If your Messiah is one that is going to bring trouble upon the world, he's the wrong one. There's a Messiah, they'll tell you, that's coming, that's going to bring peace. Of course, he has a big Noahide with him, and that will result in your immediate termination, which is talked about here. Trump honored the Noahide laws on April 16th. That's 2019, so that was just a couple months ago. Again this year, again. As previous presidents have done, Noahide laws are law in the U.S. Anyone that believes that man is God can be, oh, what is that? Taken out for ice cream? Given hot dogs? No. This reality right here. All these things go together. You're being set up. Watch to learn Chabad and Noahide laws. And then she gives a link. And this is actually a really, really, really good site. That's a 2-page article, I think. I've read the whole thing twice. It's extremely good. I don't necessarily agree with everything that this entity says, and I don't necessarily trust everybody just because they say something, but I do like what L. Goodday says here. It says, big problem, and I agree with this. Citizens are so brainwashed. Oh, hyper focus on that word brainwashed, because it's totally true. Thinking that Trump would do them no harm. They do not read the Noahide laws to see what's in there. What's in them, it should say. Well, you could say either. That's fine. I'm not going to pick on their whatever. That's fine. If they only knew, they'd wake up. So yes, I very much agree with that person. And of course, then you've got somebody here. Good thing I don't believe that. Nope. Okay, this is a person who chooses not to go read the information, but they want to put out their opinion to sway people. That's just unbelievably against everything I believe in. The Bible says that you are to test all things to see if they be true, not just openly ignore something because it's scary and you might not like it. And if you just put your head in the sand and ignore it, it'll go away. See how the Bible doesn't tell you to do that? The Bible says to be convinced in your own mind, which means that what you're reading is either going to comport to truth and reality, or you're going to find out it's bunk. But you're supposed to find out. You're not supposed to be weak. You're not supposed to bury your head in the sand. You're not supposed to propagate lies because you're uncomfortable with it, because you don't believe something. Therefore, that is the arbitrator of whether it's truth or not, whether you believe it. Do you see how you're being manipulated by people? I don't honor that. But this person says, go read it, go understand it, go learn. And so Nohide.org under courts of justice. It will explain to you what the Noahide laws are and how they're coming about and what's going on with that, so you can be convinced in your own mind. Okay, this also all goes along with the FBI document warning that conspiracy theorists, so people that refuse to believe the narrative that the government, Masons, the media have put out about anything, and we question that, they want to call those entities, which they label with name calling like a 4-year-old, conspiracy theorists, are the new domestic terrorism threat. So if you don't agree with the government on something and you write on social media to influence others, you now have become a threat. If you're a Christian, you're a double threat. If you're warning people about the truth of the Noahide and taking away the curtain of lies and exposing Trump and the Kabbalists and the Netanyahu, who has made the Talmud the law of the land, and everything that goes along with that, the undergirding of the Noahide and this forced compulsory, you will obey, you will believe what we want you to believe, you will accept the false Messiah for those who are going to be here, you will not bring that man up, Jesus Christ, as a Messiah. If you don't go along with what we tell you, we're going to label you a domestic terrorist. All of this goes together. You're being set up for those who are going to be here. I'm trusting in Jesus and hiding in the ark. But anyhow, this is interesting. I wonder what they talk about here with this dominion and reconstruction theology on page 13. Because, see, the rabbis are out teaching a new spirit, a new gospel, a new kingdom, a new Messiah, a new philosophy on getting yoked into the house of Israel and getting rid of Christianity. Oh, wow. They're acting as if all Christians are dominionists, which, by the way, Trump and the people that surround him, who are Masons, are also dominionists. Look at this. Dominion theology, also known as dominionism and dominion theory, takes its name from Genesis 1:26, where God grants human beings dominion over all creation, a departure from evangelicalism, and a more radical interpretation of Calvinism. Dominionist Christians control at least 6 television networks and over 2,000 religious radio stations nationwide to promote their message to millions. So they cite Robertson and Falwell, founder of the Moral Majority. Okay, what you need to know is that Masons are pretending to be Christians to set up this false dominionist garbage that we're going to take over the earth, which is not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that Jesus comes when he is ready and he has the feasts. And tabernacles is when he comes to rule the earth for 1,000 years. But you have to understand that the rabbis are bringing forth the Antichrist, saying it's going to be his 1,000-year earthly rule, their Messiah, but it's actually the tribulation is going to start. Okay, there's a lot of game playing going on here. You have Masons that are confusing people and bringing them into the 7 mountain mandate, like Lance Walnew and all of these hyper signs and wonders churches, focusing people, the adulterous generation seeking after a sign, but none shall be given it. They're not real Christians. Then the other end of the Masons, they come in and they go, well, we're going to criminalize this group of people. They're not even real Christians. They're false Christians. That's what's going on. You're being double-crossed in ways you can't even fathom. It's brilliant, this deception. There's so many twists and turns, layers of manipulation and deception going on. It's hard to get it all in a 15-minute video. But look, if you go to this watchuntoprayer.org, go to the very first article that pops up. It is a 4-part series. If you read this entire series, you will find out and understand that most of your Christian teachers, if not all of them, I don't know about all, who've been on television, who've been on radio, even on YouTube, in my opinion, they are all Masons as turncoat Christians playing the game. Exactly like Peter said, they would sneak in unawares, and they have been leading the church astray for a long, long time. And all of this stuff fits together. He spearheads it with this information back about the Lucerne covenant and all these different preachers along the way that have led the church astray. And now the rabbis come in and go, we can lead you back. And then the government comes in and they go, but dissenters will be taken captive, basically. And really, their goal is to come after the true born again Christian. It's a lie upon a lie upon a lie.